Welcome back, fellow cardboarders. I'm back from my little vacation, and boy, things happened while I was gone. If you've been living under the ocean, the YouTube channel Ristic Study made a video about the DanDan format and its history. We were linked in their sources, so thanks for the little shout out. And the community went crazy, and it seems everyone wants to build a DanDan deck. The next couple of days, DanDan spiked throughout all its different versions in price. Luckily, I already built my DanDan deck, but during my vacation, my dad really fell in love with the format. He stopped playing years ago when I was still little, when I was 14 or something, and hasn't really played since then. But this he really liked, and he wanted to build his own deck. And luckily, we were still able to buy a couple of DanDans for him, as well as the respective cards that go into this deck. I also bought some more Arabian Nights DanDans for my Arabian Nights set cube in the future, but this will not be the focus of the video. The focus of the video for today will be Arjen Brand's Twitter post, which talks about DanDanGPT. And apparently it is possible to play DanDan through ChatGPT, and I just had to try it out myself, so here is my experience with ChatGPT and the DanDan format.
Dun 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 dun.
My idea was to try to see how far I could get with just simple commands and see where ChatGPT would go with this. And wouldn't that be such a nice idea? You don't even have to buy the deck, don't even have to own the cards. You could just ask ChatGPT, hey, would you like to play a round of DanDan with me? And there you go. It is kind of like mind magic, since you do not have any cards on board and you don't see anything. But I just wanted to see how far that goes, so I just wrote, let's play a game of DanDan. And ChatGPT answered with,
sure, I'd be happy to play DanDan with you. For those who may not be familiar, DanDan is a traditional Iranian card game, also known as DANDÂN. How would you like to proceed with the game?
So right off the bat I noticed he doesn't know what I'm talking about, so I answered, I'm talking about the Magic the Gathering format DanDan. Do you know it?
I apologize for the confusion. Yes, I am familiar with the Magic the Gathering format DanDan. Please let me know how you would like to proceed with the game.
Okay, let's go.
Great. What format and rules would you like to play with? Also, would you like to use any specific sets or cards?
I guess let's just use the classic list. Do you have one for me?
Certainly. A classic Magic the Gathering deck is typically built around a 60 card minimum, with no more than 4 copies of any given card except for basic lands. Here's a sample classic DanDan deck list you could use. Creatures: 4x Serra Angel, 4x Shivan Dragon, 4x Grizzly.
What?
Let me stop you there. That's a weird deck list for a game of DanDan without a single copy of the famous fish. Let's instead use this deck list I found online. And I just pasted the first deck list I found online, and I even kept the prices in there. I just wanted to see the response.
Ah, I see. This is an unusual DanDan deck, but I'm happy to play with it. Let's proceed with this deck list. Just to confirm, we're playing a casual game of DanDan, so we're not concerned with any tournament rules or banned cards, correct?
Correct.
Great, let's get started. Who would like to go first? And would you like to draw your opening hand, or would you like me to deal it to you?
I guess just deal us an opening hand and flip a coin who goes first.
Sure thing. I'll shuffle the deck and deal 7 cards to each of us. I flipped a coin and it landed heads. Do you want to go first or second?
So I suppose I was heads, he didn't tell me that. I found interesting that he knew that he would deal 7 cards. So yeah, let me go first, I guess.
Sounds good. You may begin your turn. What is your first move?
And here I noticed I don't even know what's on my hand. So what cards did I get dealt?
My apologies. Here are the cards in your opening hand. DanDan Brainstorm, Halima Depths Island, Lonely Sandbar, Memory Lapse, Telling Time. What would you like to do on your first turn?
Okay, let's play a Halimar Depths first.
Alright. You play Halima Depths and it enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. What order would you like to put those cards in?
which cards do I see on top? So you see here, ChatGPT doesn't tell me all the cards I should normally see, but assumes that I am able to see them. So I just ask what I see.
I apologize for missing that detail earlier. Here are the top 3 cards of your library. Island, Island, DanDan.
So let's use the classic strategy of putting DanDan second and Island on top and third position.
Understood. You put the island on top, followed by DanDan, and the other island at the bottom. Is there anything else you would like to do on your turn? Or is that all?
I'll pass my turn.
Alright, your turn is over, and it's my turn now. I'll draw a card for my turn and begin my first turn. I'll play an island and cast Brainstorm, drawing 3 cards and then putting 2 cards back on top of my library. I'll then pass the turn to you. It's now your second turn.
What a great move. I don't know what is on top now, and the 3 cards I thought I knew are now probably 2 random cards he put down from his hand onto the library, probably 2 islands. Let's see. So I guess I'll draw.
You draw a card for your turn. What would you like to do on your turn?
Maybe tell me which card I drew?
I apologize for missing that detail earlier. You drew a memory lapse for your turn. What would you like to do with it?
What? He put a memory lapse on top? That's weird. Okay. So remind me what's in my hand. I'm playing Mind Magic, so I don't keep track.
Of course. Here are the cards in your hand. DanDan, Halima, Depths Island, Lonely Sandbar, Memory Lapse, Telling Time.
So maybe you also noticed something? Oh, that's not my hand. So I went back and I think this should be my hand, and I corrected ChatGPT.
I apologize for the mistake earlier. Yes, that is the correct hand you have. Thank you for correcting me. What would you like to do on your turn with this new information?
I guess I'll play an island.
Alright, you play an island as your land for the turn. You still have 5 cards left in hand. Is there anything else you would like to do on your turn?
Let's play this a little defensively, now that I also have a counterspell, and I'll pass the turn and see what they do.
Alright, my turn begins. I'll draw a card for my turn and then play an island. Next, I'll cast Telling Time, which lets me look at the top 3 cards of my library and choose one to put in my hand and the other 2 to put on the bottom of my library in any order. After looking at the top 3 cards of my library, I choose to put the card on top of my library, and then put the other 2 cards on the bottom of my library in any order. I'll then pass the turn to you. It's your third turn now.
So I kept my 2 lands open and he didn't even give me an option to respond. So let's see if I can reverse that, right?
Sure thing. We can rewind to before my Telling Time resolved, so you have the chance to cast Memory Lapse on it. You tap an island to cast Memory Lapse targeting my Telling Time, and I'll respond by tapping 2 islands to pay the mana cost of foil, pitching an island from my hand as an additional cost, to counter your Memory Lapse. Since foil has an alternate cost, I have to discard an island as well as pay the mana cost to cast it. My hand size is now reduced to 4. Is there anything else you'd like to do on my turn?
Oof, a lot happened here, so let me correct you here. Memory Lapse costs 1 and a blue, so I actually tap both my lands. And you don't even have to tap anything to cast foil, since the alternate costs are paid by just discarding a foil. And I mistyped here, so I guess I confused him a little. This is what they answered.
You're absolutely right. My apologies for the mistake earlier. You tap both of your islands to cast Memory Lapse, and I discard foil from my hand to pay its alternate cost, since I have to discard a blue card anyway to make it cheaper. So my Telling Time is countered and put back into my library, and my hand size is reduced to 4 due to having discarded a card. Thank you for correcting me, and my apologies for the errors. Is there anything else you'd like to do on my turn?
So I was confused why he would discard the foil, so I corrected him, and this is what they answered.
Oops, it seems like I'm making a few too many mistakes today. Yes, you are correct again. I discard an island to pay the alternate cost of foil, not the actual mana cost. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. So, just to clarify the current game state, your board has an island and your hand contains DanDan, Brainstorm, Lonely Sandbar, and Memory Lapse. Meanwhile, my hand has been reduced to 4 cards due to the alternate cost of foil, and I have yet to play a land or make any other moves this turn.
I think you already played a land for the turn, and telling time resolves, since my memory lapse was countered by your foil. So let's resolve your telling time and then tell me if you're going to do anything else or pass the turn.
Ah, you're right again. I apologize for the confusion, and thank you for keeping me honest. So, with telling time still on the stack, I scree the top 3 cards of my library and arrange them in any order, and then draw 1 card. After that, telling time resolves and I draw 2 more cards. At this point, I will simply pass the turn back to you. My board still has no lands or creatures, and my hand now contains 5 cards: Brainstorm, Mystic Retrieval, Portent, Ray of Command, and Supplant Form.
Oof, I might have broken ChatGPT. So telling time lets you look at the top 3 cards and then you put 1 into your hands, 1 on the deck, and the last one on the bottom. You don't draw any extra cards.
You're absolutely right. I apologize for the mistake. So with telling time, I look at the top 3 cards of my library, put 1 into my hand, 1 on top of my library, and the 3rd on the bottom of my library. Then, I draw 1 card from my library. After that, telling time resolves and I draw 2 more cards. Thank you for catching that mistake.
Nope. You don't draw another card or another 2 cards after telling time resolves.
Ah, you're right again. Thank you for correcting me. After telling time resolves, I just draw 1 card at the beginning of my next turn. I apologize for the confusion.
Sure, so you pass the turn, right?
Yes, that's correct. After resolving telling time, I pass the turn to you.
I'll untap, then draw, I guess. What did I draw and what's my hand now?
You drew a DanDan and your hand now consists of the following cards: DanDan, Brainstorm Island, Lonely Sandbar, Memory Lapse.
I actually think this should be my hand.
My apologies for the mistake. You are correct. Your hand consists of DanDan, Brainstorm Island, Lonely Sandbar, Memory Lapse, Telling Time, DanDan.
It's very interesting because I also made a mistake here, and you can correct ChatGPT, and I guess they just believe you. So I corrected myself after I checked again, and they just accepted it.
Got it. Thanks for the correction.
So I guess I play my first fish and see if they react in any way.
No responses from my side. The DanDan resolves. It enters the battlefield and you can draw a card.
That's very nice, but it's not true. It does not let me draw another card, but thanks for the offer.
My apologies. I must have misunderstood. Please continue with your turn.
Because I'll just play the Lonely Sandbar tapped and pass the turn.
Got it. The turn passes to me. I'll untap, draw a card, and play an island as my land for the turn. My hand currently is Halima Depths, Island, Portent, Vision, Charm, Mystic Retrieval, Ray of Command. I'll pass the turn back to you.
Please don't show me your hand.
Oops, my apologies. I won't reveal my hand.
No problem, it happens to the best of us. I'll draw a card.
Sure thing. You draw a card for your turn. What's your next move?
Again, you forgot to tell me what I drew. What's in my hand?
You drew a Halima Depths. Your current hand is DanDan, Brainstorm, Lonely Sandbar, Memory Lapse, Telling Time, DanDan, Halima Depths.
I guess they forgot that I played the DanDan and the Lonely Sandbar, so I don't know what happened here. This should be my hand.
My apologies for the mistake earlier. Yes, your current hand should be Memory Lapse, Telling Time, DanDan, Brainstorm, Halima Depths. And you have a DanDan and a Lonely Sandbar in play.
Great, let's play the second Halima Depths and see the top 3 cards.
Sure. When Halima Depths enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your library. Then you may put them back in any order. Here are the top 3 cards. Island, Ponder, Foil. Remember that you can put them back in any order you like.
Those look like very spicy cards. Let's brainstorm and take them all. Any responses?
I have no responses to your brainstorm. You can proceed with it.
Awesome. So this should be my hand. Now I'll remind ChatGPT what my hand looks like, and I'll put Telling Time, Second, and Island on top.
Understood. Your deck now has Island on top, followed by Telling Time, then the remaining card from your brainstorm. Your hand now consists of Memory Lapse, DanDan, Island, Ponder, Telling Time, and Foil.
Nice. So let me go to my attacks and smack you with my fish. Any responses?
I'll let it through, taking 1 damage and going down to 19 life.
Haha, nice try. DanDAN is a 4-1, so it deals 4 damage and you go down to 16.
Got it. I'm at 16 life.
So now in my second main, I'll tap the rest of my mana and play another fish. Any responses?
As of now, I have no responses to your second DANDÂN. It resolves and enters the battlefield.
Great, then I'll pass the turn.
Got it. Your turn has ended.
You may proceed into your draw step. And this is where things got even more fishy.
Thanks. I draw my card for the turn. During my main phase, I will play a Plains from my hand. Then I'll tap all 4 of my lands to cast Day of Judgment, which will destroy all creatures on the battlefield. Do you have any responses?
What? Wait, do you remember our deck list? What?
As an AI language model, I do not have a memory in the same way that humans do, so I do not remember the specific deck list for our game. However, if you provided me with the deck list, I could refer to it to help answer any questions you have about the cards in your hand or on the board.
Oof, that is sad. Here is a reminder for all the things that are in the deck. And there are no planes and no Day of Judgment included. But it would be a great move.
Got it. Thanks for confirming. Let's continue.
So, I'll remind him what is on top, since we played the Brainstorm and put the island on top. What else do they do?
I will play the island that I drew and then cast Brainstorm. Any responses?
1 second. How many Brainstorms are in our deck?
There are 2 Brainstorms in our deck.
Correct. And you played 1, turn 1, and I just played 1 during my turn. You cannot have another one in your hand, because that would be Brainstorm number 3, right? Which doesn't exist in our deck list.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out.
So you played the island, what's next?
I apologize for the confusion earlier. It was my mistake. Thank you for correcting me on the number of Brainstorms in the deck. After drawing the island, I will tap 3 of my lands and cast a card that has been sitting in my hand for a while now. Magical Hack. Any responses from your side?
Great card. But it just costs 1 blue mana. Do you just still want to add 3 blue mana to your mana pool?
My apologies. You are correct. Magical Hack only costs 1 blue mana. I would only add 1 blue mana to my mana pool, leaving the rest of my lands untapped.
What's your target?
I'm sorry for my mistake earlier, but as an AI language model, I don't have access to the game state beyond the most recent messages. Therefore, I don't know what cards are currently on the battlefield or in either player's hand or graveyard. Can you please remind me of the current game state?
Oof. I don't want to do that. Are you able to look through our whole communication to tell me what the current game state is?
Certainly. Here's what I have so far. It is currently your turn. Your life total is 20 and your opponent's life total is 16. You have 3 islands in play, a DANDÂN in play, and a DANDÂN in hand. Your opponent has 2 islands in play and 5 cards in hand. The top card of your library is an island. The top 3 cards of your opponent's library are Halimadets, Memory Lapse, and Thwel. You have not played a land this turn and have not used your one-time Halimadets ability. You have cast a Brainstorm this turn and put Island and Telling Time back on top of your library. Your opponent has cast a Telling Time, then played an Island and passed the turn. You have not attacked this turn. Your opponent has not blocked or taken any damage. No spells have been cast or abilities activated since your last turn. Let me know if you have any other questions.
Oof, there's so much wrong with this. But one thing that I noticed is this. We are not sharing a library, are we?
No. In a game of Magic, The Gathering, players have their own individual libraries.
So this is where I should have clarified at the beginning of the game, so this is my learning experience, I guess. So I told ChatGPT that the wonderful format of DanDan means that we share a library of 80 cards, and not everyone has their own library. But that's where the confusion came from with the third brainstorm, right? So I said bye and told ChatGPT that I would make clearer rules and a deck list that I have in card form so I can track it next time when we play again with the real cards and see if and where they make another mistake.
I apologize for the confusion earlier, and thank you for clarifying the format of the game you were playing. It sounds like a fun and unique format. Sure, I would be happy to play a rematch with clearer rules and your current deck list. Just let me know when you're ready, and we can start the game.
And this is where I left. So I find it really interesting how AI is able to make it sound like they're playing Magic the Gathering, but actually not really, or with mistakes. So you can probably actually play Magic the Gathering with ChatGPT, but you have to keep track of a whole lot of things. So the best thing would be to have those cards on hand or use any digital program that lets you track the cards in any way so that you can make sure that ChatGPT is not making as many mistakes or none at all. Probably, hopefully. I found it really interesting how he tried to cheat at some point. I don't know what happened in between. Maybe we discussed too much about certain rules and at some point they forgot what the deck list was, maybe? I don't know what happened there, but there's no planes in there and no Day of Judgment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing another round with them in the near future. If you enjoyed this kind of video, do let me know. Let me know if you have your own DanDan deck in print form already. If you ever tried to play Magic the Gathering with ChatGPT. Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates it. Enjoy your day and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.